Hi, this is Torin Talks, and today I'm going to be talking about Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode number 9, The Dance of Dragons. Okay, so I'm gonna admit that this episode was not one of my favorites, especially coming off of the amazingness of Hard Home, and even before that, The Gift. The Gift was good, Hard Home was amazing, and I was expecting spectacular from this episode, and I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get that. But anyway, so in Dorne, you have Jaime having a conversation with Dorne, and Aria's there, and he's trying to let bygones be bygones, which is infuriating to Aria because she wants vengeance for Oberyn. They release Bronn, but not without him getting a sucker punch from Aria Hota in payback for what he did to Trystane, and the marriage pact between Trystane and Myrcella will continue, and they all will be going back to King's Landing together. So you got Bronn and Jaime and Myrcella and Trystane. And I don't know what Doran's plan is, but I feel like he has something up his sleeve. I don't think he's just gonna let all this go as easily as it seems like he's going to. Then you have Aria talking to Jaime, and she's saying, you know, you can't help who you love. So she kind of hints that she knows about him and Cersei's relationship, and that in Dorne, nobody would even care because nobody cared about Oberyn and her relationship, even though he is a prince of Dorne and she is just a bastard. I feel like they are going to try to make a play, the Dornish, to put Myrcella in a position to be queen, and then maybe Trystane will be king, and that's how they'll get into it. I don't feel like the Dornish are as passive, especially the Martells. I don't believe the Martells are as passive as Doran is making them seem. And it's going to be really interesting to see if that picks up this season or next season. Next, you have Aria and Braavos. And she is kind of doing her thing, hanging out, gonna do the deed and get rid of this thin man that she has been assigned to kill by Jaqen and the Faceless Man Order. And lo and behold, she sees a familiar face from Westeros, and it is Meryn fucking Trent, as the Hound would say. And he is responsible for a bunch of atrocities under Joffrey, some that she doesn't even know about, like he was the one slapping around Sansa and beating her up when Joffrey commanded it. But he is also the one who killed Syrio Forel, or is insinuated to have killed Syrio Forel, when Aria, back in season 1, when Aria was doing her training and the guards came in to take her away, and he defended her, and you never hear from him again. So she has been waiting for this a long time. He is a person that is still on her list, like one of the people that's been on her list for a very long time, and she just was transfixed. So she followed him around all day. We learned 2 things from that. 1, Mace Tyrell is an idiot. And 2, that Meryn Trent has a affinity for young girls. Because they kept bringing all these young little hotties in, and he's like, too old. Then they get to this girl who looks preteen or early teen, like very young. She looks super young. Like, I don't even know if she's preteen. But then he was just like, yeah, that's like right up my alley. So he's nasty. Aria, I think, is going to use that to get close to him since she's a young girl and do the deed. But I don't know if that's going to get her. I believe she should stick to her mission that the Faceless Women give her, but she can't let go of her revenge or her need for revenge for what happened to her in the past. And I think that is why she couldn't get rid of Needle. Not that it's an instrument for revenge, but it is a link to her past. And this is another link to her past. And as much as Aria thinks that she wants to become no one, she very much still is, at her core, Arya Stark. And that is a hard personality to shake off. So then we go up north, and you have Jon Snow and the Wildlings making it to Castle Black. It seems like Alistair Thorne's going to be a douche and not let them in, but he does, even though he is not happy about it. None of the Night's Watchmen are very happy with Jon Snow right now. They're all looking grim as fuck. Especially Ollie. That kid was super salty. Jon's all like, hey, like, what's up? And Ollie's just like, so something's cooking, and that kid's a hater. Him and Sam are having a conversation, and Sam's like, you did the right thing because you tried to save all those people, even though you think you failed. All these people that are coming through these gates wouldn't even be alive. They will all be whites if you hadn't went to Hardhome. And I think that makes Jon feel a little bit better about the situation, but he's still kind of bummed that he couldn't really do anything once the White Walkers and the Whites started attacking everyone at Hardhome. Then we go over to Stannis Baratheon's camp, and you see that he has been hit in the night by Ramsay and his 20 secret ninjas, and they destroyed all their food supply and their siege weapons. And Davos is telling him, you know, these are Northerners. We're in the North. They're going to know this land better than us anyway, so they can get in, get out undetected. So Stannis is panicking because there is no food, no siege weapons, and his army needs to move because they are in the middle of the snow and winter is here. So he has no choice but to kind of give in to Melisandre's earlier desire to use Shireen's king's blood to help them out and get them where they're gonna go. And you see, Stannis has already basically made up his mind on this regard because he sends Davos away. Once he sent Davos away, I knew Shireen was going down, because Davos would have talked reason, sense, or even possibly killed either one of them to try to save Shireen. And he knew that was gonna happen. And I felt Davos knew something was gonna happen too, because he asked to take Shireen and Selyse with him back to Castle Black, and Stannis was like, no. So you see Davos and Shireen have a little heartwarming moment. He gets to say goodbye to her, and I'm glad that they put that in there, that he at least got to say goodbye. You have Shireen sitting there, and Stannis comes in and talks to her, and she's telling him about the dance with the dragons and how it just obliterated the whole Targaryen line because they were too busy fighting over the crown, and they were just killing each other left and right, and it wasn't even worth it in the end. And the family never really recovered from the incident of the dance. So it was an interesting parallel to me to House Baratheon. You know, you have Stannis and Renly going at it after Robert's already dead. You have them clawing at each other's throats for the crown. He kills Renly, you know, and there's really not much of a House Baratheon left because of the throne. Like, Robert would still be alive if he wasn't, well, who knows? But I mean, he had a pretty good shot at being alive if he hadn't been the king and married to Cersei. You know, Renly would still be alive if he hadn't tried to become king. So you see how this fight for power is kind of destroying this family, and that's the story that Shireen is reading to Stannis, which I think is kind of poetic. So, but Stannis tells her, you know, like, you have to sacrifice things even if you don't want to. And when he came in there with Shireen, like, I knew he already had made his decision, especially when she asked, what can I do to help? Like, I'm the Princess Shireen of House Baratheon, like, I want to help you. And he's like, oh, you want to help me? Cool, I got something for you to do. And, you know, when they're leading her out to the pyre, it was hard scene to watch. And, you know, she gets tied up. Melisandre, she is pumped. Not that she's showing it, but I can tell she is just like, yes, I got my way, you know. She just wants to sacrifice this little girl, and I don't, you know, it's just bad business. So, but she believes that R'hllor is telling her to do this, so she needs to do this so they can get where they're going, because Stannis needs to be king before the White Walkers really get going with their assault. So, she is screaming for her parents, and you see Stannis is just hard-faced. He won't even come out and face her, really. She can't even see him. And Selyse is like, yeah, this is good. The Lord of Light wants this. But as Shireen begins to scream more and more, you see Selyse start to break down, because Selyse has been a horrible mother to Shireen, and she never really cared for her. But when your kid is screaming in agony, calling out for you, it can get through sometimes, you know. And I felt that's what happened with Selyse. Not that she just did a 180 and flipped, but it kind of got to her in a way that I don't think that she was even prepared for. So you see how things can change in just like an instant. So she tries to save her, but she can't because they're holding her back. It's too late, and Shireen is gone. And I am so sad because that actress that played, I think her name is Carrie Ingram, that plays Shireen, is really great actress. And I'm sad that character's not going to be on the show, but I just want to know what's going to happen when Davos come back and find out what they did to Shireen. That's what I'm waiting on. And I also thought it was hilarious watching the internet blow up after their favorite, their boy Stannis actually sacrificed someone, and everyone wanted to blame it on the showrunners of the show. And they got that plot point from George R.R. Martin himself. So they can't even blame it on the showrunners because that is something that they got from the author. So I am just loving all these people have a freaking meltdown. And I don't understand why it was this fanatical worship of Stannis Baratheon to begin with. I mean, I don't understand how him wanting to sacrifice Gendry, or if you're a book purist, Edric Storm, how is that any different from him sacrificing Shireen? They're both were innocent because he's, whatever, it's fine for Stannis to sacrifice him. Nobody was outraged when he was going to sacrifice Gendry, but, Dan and Dave were hacked. The point being is Stannis has been a bad dude from jump. Like, he killed his freaking brother. I don't care if Renly, treason, yeah, whatever. He could have just locked him up in a cell if that was the case. You know what I mean? But no, he killed him. He wanted to kill Gendry / Eric, depending on which story you're following. And he burned all those people on the beach that didn't want to turn to the Lord of Light. He's been burning people all this time. So I don't understand why it's all of a big shocker that he would burn Shireen. Like, Stannis is ambition, and Stannis doesn't change his mind once he makes a decision to do something, and that's pretty much what happened. He's gonna be king, and nothing's gonna get in the way of that, not even Shireen, Gendry, whoever, they're gonna get burned, period. So, I was thinking that maybe that was gonna be the line where he saw this had went too far when Melisandre first brought up the idea of sacrificing Shireen, but the fact that he did it is just proof that Stannis is gone. There is no saving Stannis. Stannis is gone. And he is all caught up in this whole deal with Melisandre, and there is no redeeming his character. And I love that about Game of Thrones because no one's 100% good, no one's 100% bad. There is just varying shades of gray, and Stannis has just moved over to dark gray status, and some people just can't handle it, but I am absolutely loving it. Then you have Meereen, and you see they are in Daznak's pit for the Great Games. So Daenerys claps her hands and gets this whole show started. And you see fighters fighting, and they're not really impressed. Dario's having a conversation with his Dar, and they're talking about how just because someone's big doesn't mean they're always going to be someone that's small. People that are smaller can have value too. And his Dar didn't really see that. And I thought it was very interesting that Tyrion was listening, because a lot of people underestimate Tyrion in the same way because he is a dwarf and because they just don't think very much of him, when it turns out underestimating Tyrion is basically what gets him through a lot of the situations that he gets through, because people underestimate him and then he goes above and beyond. It happened plenty of times in his history with his father, just dealing with people in Westeros in general, and even now, like, I feel that Tyrion knows that's one of his strengths, so you shouldn't really underestimate people. And Dario knows that, Tyrion knows that. I don't know about his Dar, but I mean, his Dar is just spoiled little rich kid, what does he know? Jorah finally coming to the pit, and Daenerys is kind of choked up watching it. And there are two incidents where Jorah almost bites the dust, where I think he's gonna bite the dust, and you see it in Dany's face. It's not that she wants Jorah to die, but she's, trying to keep up this facade, like, yeah, I'll have you killed. But if Jorah actually died, I think she would just freak. So even though she thinks she would, but because Tyrion was seeing it in her face, and he's like, you can stop this if you want to. And she let it go on, and Jorah's standing there, and he throws a spear up into the VIP booth where Dany and his Dar and everyone else is kind of hanging out, and you see him, boom, hit, Yeah, I thought he was aiming for Dario, but he hits the son of the Harpy that was coming up to sneak up behind them and try to ice Daenerys. Then you see all these people in the crowd come with all these Sons of the Harpy masks, and everyone's just trying to come in on Dany and her crew to try to take them out. So you have them Sullied and Dario trying to protect Dany. Jorah jumps up there and she trusts Jorah because his daughter tries to get Dany to go with him, and somebody jumps out and stabs him, which kind of puts a nail in my theory that he was leading the Sons of the Harpy. But I mean, unless I specifically see him dead, I don't know. It could have been just a little stab to throw people off the scent. I don't know, but maybe that's not important who the leader is. Anywho, you have Jorah trying to get Dany out of there, and everybody else. Tyrion kills this Son of the Harpy that was cornering Missandei, and he gets her to, relative safety. And they're all in the middle, surrounded by all these people who are trying to get them. And Daenerys holds Missandei's hand like, yeah, this is it. This is the end. And they're trying to be brave and strong. Dario and Jorah and everyone are still trying to take people out and unsullied. Then, lo and behold, she closes her eyes and just has kind of like this moment of peace before she thinks she's going to die. And you see Drogon swoop in and just start roasting everybody's ass. And just wrecking people, and they're throwing spears at him, and it's still kind of not phasing him. And Daenerys goes up to him, and you see her, try to put her hand out, and she mounts Drogon, and then they fly away, and you see Tyrion just looking like, and I think he's having that same moment that Jorah was telling him about when he saw the dragons being born, and he didn't believe either until he saw it with his own eyes, and then he knew this girl was the one. And I think that is the same moment that Tyrion had when he saw Dany fly away on her freaking dragon. Where Dany ends up, I don't know, but I'm excited to see what's gonna happen with her and Drogon and everybody else that's still in Meereen, because she left Jorah and Dario and Missandei and Tyrion there, so it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to be up to. To me, the only two things that were kind of like majorly earth-shattering were, Shireen getting burned and Drogon showing up. But other than that, there was nothing that was really too shocking or super, one of those critical moments that everyone's talking about the next day in Game of Thrones. Like it usually is. It wasn't one of those shocking moments that people are usually talking about. Besides those two incidents was Daznak's pit and what happened with Shireen and Stannis. So I'm hoping the season finale will be great, and I am looking forward to it. So I will see you in that video.